Monument Valley. Oh.
We're starting where we left off in part 1, beginning our day bright and early at Horseshoe Bend. Located right near the town of Page in North Arizona, Horseshoe Bend at this time of the morning had many other tourists taking in the sights. It's predicted that the Colorado River will eventually cut through the neck of the bend, but that's probably not something to worry about just yet. So much sun, so much happiness. That's going to be our theme for part 2 of our Grand Canyon road trip. Our next stop is the famous Zion National Park. Now, I hyped up Zion a lot to Kate because I remember visiting the park several years ago and being mesmerized by its nature. But to my surprise, I realized that you needed to pre-book a reservation to visit sites such as the Narrows and Angel's Landing. Pretty much the sites that make up all the amazing Google images of Zion. But no disappointment here. Even though we could only spend a few hours in Zion, Kate told me that this was by far her favorite part. And as we headed north, we entered Bryce Canyon National Park, where the rocks became more orange and the ground more white. This park is quite unique in its own way, as it's known for its very distinctive rock formations. They're called hoodoos, and these things are everywhere in the canyon. And because we're visiting in March, the snow added a dreamy look to these orange rocks. Bryce Canyon is also made up of numerous amphitheater-shaped features. Basically, the rocks formed in a way that amplifies and echoes sound. But with the snow, that meant that we couldn't hike down to see them, because we didn't bring any winter boots. We walk around some more and see some brave souls trek further down into the canyon. I think the next time we come back, we have to make this trip more of a hiking trip than a road trip. Even at 8,000 feet above sea level, we decided to move higher up to an area called Bryce Point, which offered an incredible view of the surrounding canyons. And honestly, this view really left me speechless.
Jeff, turn around.
Oh, look how nice this is.
We had to convince ourselves to leave, as the sun started to set and most of the park still had several feet of covered snow. And as we started our drive, we realized that we actually had 6 hours ahead of us before our resting location. And this is where things really started to get weird. As usual, Google Maps decided to take us on a very interesting route, but we did find it weird that we didn't see any towns or cars for a good 2 hours. And then we saw snow flurries that ended up becoming a blizzard. Kate decided that a good idea was to share some scary horror stories to keep each other entertained and calm, especially because we had to swerve around a dog in the road, and we saw a suspicious smoked up car without a driver and then had to call police to report it. And we were also getting really, really tired. Well, I'm happy to report that we survived our 6-hour drive and got to enjoy our dome in the morning. The bright sunshine revealed the beautiful surrounding valley, and the temperature was much more bearable compared to last night. And after a quick coffee and some instant noodles for breakfast, we head to Monument Valley, a 3-hour trip south where Utah meets Arizona to marvel at one of the most photographed natural wonders in all the US. Monument Valley is actually known as Monument Valley Navajo Tribal Park because it is owned and run by the Navajo tribal people. They're wonderful people, super helpful, and very welcoming as we get to explore their land and history. We get to drive on a 17-mile dirt loop in the valley and are mesmerized by the orange rock formations around us. Apparently, these larger rocks are called mittens and range between 400 to 1,000 feet in height. We get close and personal and spend a decent amount of time in the valley, given that this area is recognized as the symbol of the American West. On our way out of the park, we stop at a viewpoint on the Forrest Gump Highway, where the famous scene of Forrest Gump running was filmed. And soon later, we arrive at our final destination of our trip, the Grand Canyon.
Oh.
Wow,
Well?
this is real wow.
At last, we've arrived at one of the 7 natural wonders of the world, and take in the paint-like scenery as the sun starts to set. Grand Canyon is one of the most visited national parks in the US, and we visit the South Rim given that it's closer to our lodging site. We wanted to hike down the canyon, but realized that that plan wasn't going to happen. This time around, we only get to visit one small part of the canyon, but we both agreed that this was a great way to end off our road trip. To celebrate, we decide to go to a steakhouse in the nearby area, and contemplate whether we should turn our videos into a YouTube channel. For tonight, we're going to an off-the-grid experience. We didn't know what that meant until we had to drive off-road and ended up at a trailer underneath an ocean of stars. It was still too dark to capture that light, but here's a photo of the sky as we drifted into sleep in our cozy little camp. Good morning. A bit too early in the morning. Our night of sleep was interesting. We had little running water left and we didn't have an electric heater, so we had to switch out small propane tanks every 2 hours to stay warm. I guess this is the feeling of living off the grid. As we stepped outside, we got to see the early parts of the twilight over the horizon. We have a 4-hour drive ahead of us as the sun starts to rise higher and the sky starts to turn blue on our travel day to go home. But I guess we're not ready to leave just yet. It's 6 a.m., our flight is at 1 p.m., and it takes 4 hours to get to Phoenix. So after some quick math, we quickly make an executive decision and decide to drive back towards Grand Canyon to catch a glimpse of the golden sunrise. As we take a moment to reflect on our trip, we're so grateful to be here and be able to experience some of the most sought after places to visit on Earth. And when we're here, embracing everything around us, we realize how small we are and how much of the world we have left to explore. And with that, we say farewell to the Grand Canyon and the American West as we start our drive direct to Phoenix International Airport. It's been an amazing 7 days and 2,200 miles later, and I'm glad we got to see everything on our bucket list. There's a few lessons from our experience that I want to leave you with if you're interested in a trip to the American West. Firstly, get a realistic sense of distances. Google Maps makes everything look small. And because of our planned lodging sites, we actually had to drive a lot further than we anticipated. Second, do more research into the national parks. For example, I overlooked the booking requirement for Zion, which means that now we have a good excuse to visit again. And third, try some interesting lodging experiences. I only booked one night in a hotel and instead focused my time looking for glamping sites, domes, and also an off-the-grid experience. And if you've also done a similar Grand Canyon American West trip, leave your comments below and tell me about your journey. Until then, stay happy, stay safe, and continue journeying with Jeff.